Our next presenter is Carlos Guevara. He's the co-director of CTL and also he's the director of EdTech. He's going to be enriching us with information about how to use Twitter in the classroom as well. 1 minute later, Carlos Guevara.
You really say good afternoon, right? So, I was not supposed to do this, but it was kind of interesting when we started to put together this idea of sharing quick tips for the first day of class, and I wanted to send a couple of examples to the faculty that were given the presentations, and I put together a couple of examples, these examples, and I sent it to faculty. And what was interesting was the reaction that I got from faculty. Not much so looking at the document that I sent as a template for them to think about creating their tips, but more on the content that I was provided. It's like, wow, this is very useful. I'm going to use it for my class, and those are ideas that I could implement. So I wanted to also share with everybody, and there's always this issue of dealing with technology in the classroom, right? We see mobile devices all the time, as students getting distracted and not being able to know how do we combine the power that those mobile devices have, right? And that's not going to go away. We're not going to be confiscating and say, well, you have to make sure you turn off your phones. You're not going to stop from students to be distracted because at the end, and we do that too, right? Conscious or unconsciously, we leave our phone on in front of the desk, right? And those alerts start popping up, and then you lose distraction. Even if it is for a second, you lose distraction. So how do I identify ways of connecting the power of these devices to create engaging activities in the class? So that's the idea of using Twitter in the classroom. There's a number of things that we can do. And then there's this other tip, and if you can open your program, you will see the instructions there. It's right about the middle of the program. You have the two papers, and then the concept of the 1 minute paper is very simple, and I think we kind of heard in the morning from a number of colleagues talking about that. We need to get quick reaction from students. We want to get students to reflect and to let us know whether the content that we're presenting in the class students are able to assimilate, and how well are they understanding what we think. They ought to understand, or they have to be clear on the things that they're understanding. So this 1 minute exercise allows to capture that quick piece of information that you want to get. And usually you do this towards the end of the class. You will ask the student to, and then you have many different approaches, right? Any type of technology. Pen and paper is a type of technology. So you can ask the students if they don't want to use the mobile device, they don't have social media, or they don't want to use Google Forms. So there's a number of things that you can do, but then the idea for this exercise is that you want to capture the feedback from students. And there's two simple questions that you ask. Right? One is, what is the major point you learned in class today? Very simple, straightforward. And the second one is, what is the main unanswered question you leave class with today? Because sometimes, because of time, we don't have time to cover the information that perhaps students needed to listen to be able to understand and grasp the content from the class. So those two pieces of information will give you a lot of content for you to be able to prepare for the next class, right? Because you will understand whether whatever you thought it was easy or understood by students happened, and if not, then you have the content and the feedback from them, and you can even share with them. You can also use these type of questions for students to be able to answer to themselves. Sometimes you won't be able to get the answers to an individual student, but then you will be able to just post it, and just give it to students, and let the students participate, right? Let them feel that they're in a community, that they participate and they answer to each other, right? Because there's going to be one student that did understand, and that student will be able to provide the additional information, and plus that will help them to study as they're telling other students whatever they understood. So, how many of you have Twitter? You can raise your hand. Twitter. How, for what purposes do you use Twitter?
I first started using Twitter when I was part of a graduate program, and what we did is that because most of these graduate students attended to the same conference, we wanted to know what was going on in every single session. So we created a hashtag like Hosters Day Zero, and then we started tweeting of what was going on. If there was a very interesting URL that we wanted to share, so we would share that with the whole group, and everyone following this hashtag had access to that information. That's that.
Anybody else wants to tell us how you use Twitter? No pressure, anybody?
I do.
Yep.
It's similar. I started using it in grad school when I was at conferences, and now, like, if I can't go to a conference, I'll often follow the hashtag, and then you can see. And then I've actually made a lot of friends, academic friends, on Twitter, just people I follow, and it's very productive. It leads to like making panels together and writing projects. So it's been a good tool.
So you're feeling that sense of community, and also there are individuals that were able to make it. And they are the ones that are doing the synthesis for you. They're picking up what they understood, what they got out of it, and they're sharing in a couple of sentences the good information that you can now take advantage of because now is shared with the whole community that is following the hashtag. So the steps to use Twitter for those that don't have Twitter. We understand that there is this concern of, well, I use it for my personal life, and I don't want my students to know my personal business, and that's why I don't use it in Twitter. So there's a way of creating one account specific for your class, right? So that you disconnect the two profiles, right? Your personal profile, and then you have a Twitter account for your class, right? And then you define a hashtag that is going to be used for the class. Right? So this is my class, this class is going to be used for the whole semester, so you tell the students the hashtag we're going to be using for anything that we communicate and discuss in the class. You have to make sure that when you put your tweet, you have to make sure you add the hashtag Hosters Day Zero. And then every conversation that is related to the hashtag for the class, you will be able to search it, and students will be able to communicate, you will be able to reply to it, and then you start building content. You start building that sense of community and the students answering to each other and creating that content. So, for those who have Twitter, I'm going to ask you a big favor. We're going to try to do the two things at the same time. The same concept of the 1 minute paper. Right, and then you can answer just question 1. On a tweet, you're going to put Hosters Day Zero. And you're going to tell us what is the major point you learned from the day, from the first part of the day. Share with us what was the most important piece that you grasped from the. So I'll give you 1 minute or 2 minutes for you to do that. We should be able to retrieve the information, so that's the idea. And sometimes, and this is not. For those that don't want to create a Twitter account, you can all still use the hashtag, but then you have to search the information. But you can also do quick research in the class by asking the students to go to Twitter. They change the way that the homepage appears because the search doesn't appear when you go to the homepage. But you can Google and just put Twitter search, and it will give you the search screen. And you will put any particular hashtag of a particular topic that is relevant to your class. You put the hashtag, and you will be able to see the results for the hashtag. And then it's a good way of having now a conversation of something that is happening right nowadays. but at the moment in the community, right, or in the country. So you can do that just for do a research practice or do research exercise. But what's going to happen once I do the search for host today 0? If Twitter, okay, so there we go. So we're there, right? We took a nice selfie. So you're there. So we're doing an exercise. I share what information I put the host Tuesday hashtag there for today 0 hashtag, and then students will be able to right away click on it. And then if you go, for those that are doing the tweeting, one of the things that you can do is just go to that post and just click on comment. And then for that, then you will have to sign in because you want to make sure that you have your account. But I'm not signed in. I'm able to see the information from that. And then let me see what I get from Juan. All of the tips shared by the panelists on how to prepare for class are and icebreakers. I got Beth, Linda Miles, Alex Milson. So you get the idea. Sarah Hoyland. And then I have some of the tweets that I have been sending from the morning. You can see that.
You're on the 16th.
Right? Sean, Alex. So, how difficult was it? Right? I'm doing the exercise right on class. Right? It doesn't take too much to prepare. Just think about a hashtag. You don't have to go to a page, configure a hashtag. Just think about a hashtag. Make sure that you don't put a hashtag that is very common and popular because a lot of other things are going to pop up. So make sure that you create a hashtag that is going to be relevant for your class, and then it's not going to have. Don't put New York as a hashtag for some reason. You're going to get so many tweets. But that's the idea, and the sense of community, right? You show that you have participation from your class right away, and then you're able to know what your classmates are thinking about, and you can take the conversation beyond the class. Students will be able to have those conversations and be able to reflect upon the learning. So imagine if this was that exercise that I would say. You had a particular topic. You're talking about perhaps sensitive topics in the class. You want to hear from students, and usually we have those students that are very shy. They won't speak up. They will be able to use this technology. They'll be able to. Or sometimes I say, I don't want to speak in public because I don't know whether what I'm going to be saying is going to come out appropriate. But then with Twitter, you have an opportunity to think about, to revise, and be able to post your reflection. It's your reflection about what you learned. And you can do that throughout the class. Instant feedback for you, right? Talking about student, we're working on the student evaluation survey. Thinking about the feedback that you get. You get the feedback at the end of the class when perhaps it's too late, right? If you wanted to do an intervention right there and then. So then this gives you that opportunity to do constant feedback and assessment to your own teaching and also to see how students are doing. Yes?
I think it's important to highlight the netiquette.
Yes.
Because in that way, the netiquette is highly, highly recommended. It is not vital.
It is true, and then you have that conversation with students, right? We have to make sure, and we had a conversation about sensitive issues. We're gonna have a panel that we're gonna be talking about those things after the tips. So how do we make sure that we have those conversations and we have students practice that in the class and making sure that respect each other, making sure that you understand that this information is going to be public, is going to go beyond just the class, so students will think twice, right? So I used to say, tell the students use common sense, and there was one time when I was in a class and I was telling a student, let's use common sense, and it's like, I know there was a student that said, it's easy because I can just use common sense. Everybody should understand. And there was another student that said, what is your definition of common sense? And then you realize that everybody has a different definition of common sense. So it's very dangerous to say, well, let's use common sense. We have to build the etiquette that is important.
So just a quick comment, because I think this is a great way to get students active and to open up some conversations about the nature of social media and many other things. But as far as meeting students where they are, that's like a never-ending high-speed chase, because Facebook is over and Twitter's probably close behind it. So I'm not sure we're actually meeting them where they are, but I do think it's a valuable conversation.
Instagram.
For today, but tomorrow.
Yeah, and you know,
What else?
whenever there is a new technology that pops up, right, so that we think that that's the next thing that is going to be replacing, and you know that's my daily job, right? So I have to be exploring every single technology that comes up, and then say, well, how this is going to be a player in providing additional tools for our faculty, right? But then, if there is a faculty member that is using physical clickers, do you remember those? How many of you have used physical clickers, right? And then you mastered it, and then it really works, and it gets all of the feedback that you want from students, and it builds community, it builds conversation. Is it a bad technology? I mean, you're going to be using something that is going to be working for you, right? Everybody has a different learning style. Everybody has a different teaching style, right? And you're going to be able to be more successful on the tools that you feel more comfortable with. Because, you know, if I give you Twitter and you hate Twitter, you're not going to be successful in working with your students, and then your students will see it. They will feel it, that you're doing something because someone told you to use. But if you really believe in whichever tool that you're using, you know, we have faculty who use pen and paper, still use the board, and the classes are the most engaging classes. And that's a good way of using the technology. So my final advice would be, identify the technology that works for you, and then make sure that you transmit, right, that energy to your students. Because, you know, if you are convinced that this technology is going to help, they're going to do that as well, and then that's going to be working for you. So, you know, I'm supposed to be promoting technology and all of that, but that's not the point, right? We're supporting technology, but the point is we have to identify what works for us, right? And Nelson would love to use perhaps Twitter, but then, you know, we have some other colleagues. People say, well, you know, I hate to use Twitter. So, but it doesn't mean that you're wrong because you're not using the cutting edge technology. It's just that you identify the best way of using those technologies. That's the whole point, and I just want to leave you with that. Keep tweeting, keep providing feedback. This is a real exercise. We want to hear from you. This is a nice way of getting feedback for us to continue improving the next day zero. So don't stop tweeting. Thank you.